Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, as I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as if someone gently rapping on my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I sought to borrow from my books surcease my sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating to some visitor entreating entrance to my chamber door, some night visitor entreating entrance to my chamber door, that it is, and nothing more. Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word Lenore. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back, Lenore. Merely this, and nothing more. Back into my chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window latches. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still for a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped the stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obsequious made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door. Perched upon a bust of Pallas, above my chamber door. Perched and sat, and nothing more. And this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy in the smiling, by the grave and stirred decorum of the conscience it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, Hacha no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore, tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's plutonium shore. Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled, this ungainly fowl, to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. We cannot help agreeing that no living human being was ever blessed by seeing bird upon their chamber door. Bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above my chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on that placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further that he uttered, not a feather that he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. Tomorrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled by the stillness broken by a reply so aptly spoken. "Doubtless," said I, "what it mutters is only stock and store, caught by some unhappy master, whom a merciless disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs went burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore." with the raven still beguiling my sad fancy into smiling. Straight I will with quicken feet and roll burn, blast and die! Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking of what this ominous bird of yore, this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore, meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er. But whose velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed by an unseen censer,
swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor.
Wretch, I cried, thy God has lent me, by these angels he hath sent me. Respite, respite in nepenthe, thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil.
Whether tempest sent, or tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home of horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore. Is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore.
Quoth the raven, nevermore.
Prophets, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore. Tell this soul with sorrow laden, that within the distant Aidenn, it will clasp a sacred maiden whom the angels name Lenore. A rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore.
Quoth the raven, nevermore.
By that word, a sign of parting, for off thee thy shriek up starting. Go back into the tempest and the night's plutonium shore, where leave no black plume is token of that lie thy hast spoken.
Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and thy form from off my door.
Quoth the raven, nevermore.
And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on that pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming. And the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore.